Have you ever felt, even for a second, that this life, your body, your story, your name, might not be the whole truth? What if everything we see is only the costume? In today's story, a young man drowns in a cold lake and wakes up in a place more real than anything on earth. What he saw, what he felt, and what he became will challenge everything you thought you knew about life, death, and what comes next. Now, let me take you back to the beginning. It was June of 1955. The summer sun hung high over Michigan, and the air buzzed with the quiet excitement of youth on the brink of adulthood. My name is Andy Petro. I was 17, 2 days away from graduating high school. The world felt big, wide, and waiting for me. That morning, our senior class packed into old cars and headed toward the edge of Detroit, to a quiet lake surrounded by tall trees and soft sand. We were there for a final memory before stepping into the unknown of adulthood. Lunch was simple: sandwiches, sodas, and stories, but laughter carried across the water like music. After eating, some of my friends ran into the lake and swam out toward a wooden platform about 100 yards away. They shouted for me to join them. I smiled, kicked off my shoes, and dove into the water. The moment I hit the lake, a jolt ran through me. The water was freezing, unforgiving, even in summer, but I kept swimming. Stroke after stroke, I moved toward the floating raft, the cheers of my friends urging me on. Then, halfway there, something shifted. A cramp seized my stomach like a fist from the inside. My legs stopped moving. My kicks failed. I was suddenly relying only on my arms, and they were tiring fast. I started to sink. At first I thought I could fight it. I pushed upward, broke the surface, and saw my friends laughing, waving. They thought I was playing, but I wasn't. I was drowning. I slipped under again. The cold wrapped around me like a shroud. My lungs screamed for air. Panic blurred my thoughts. My arms flailed through the murky darkness, but the lake dragged me deeper. Then I hit something. My feet touched the soft bottom, thick, heavy with silt. I tried to push upward, but my hands sank into the mud. I was stuck. I couldn't move. And then, a voice, not in my ears, but inside me, calm, clear, familiar somehow. "Andra, just rest for a minute. Relax." I answered in my thoughts. "I can't. I need to breathe. I need one more breath." "No, just rest. Everything will be okay." "Do you promise?" I asked. "Yes, just let go." And I did. The moment I thought the word "let go," something happened. I wasn't in the water anymore. I wasn't cold. I wasn't drowning. I was floating, weightless, warm, wrapped in a love I had never felt before. It wasn't a memory. It wasn't imagination. It was real. More real than anything I'd ever known. I looked down, and there was my body lifeless at the bottom of the lake. And I didn't care, because I was in the presence of something far greater. But this was only the beginning. Subscribe and comment your city below with "Amen" to receive a prayer in our next video. I was no longer in the lake, no longer bound by breath or body or fear. Around me, there was no sky, no ground, no direction, only movement, only presence. It felt like being carried, not with arms, but with intention, as if the universe itself had cupped me in its hands and was now gently guiding me somewhere I had always known, but had long forgotten. The cold was gone. In its place was warmth, not heat, but a radiant embrace that seeped through every part of me. I wasn't alone. Though I saw no faces, I sensed company, kindness, a presence so ancient and tender that just being near it filled me with comfort I never knew I needed. The space around me began to shift, darkness giving way to a tunnel, but not the kind made of rock or stone. This tunnel was made of light and energy, stretching far ahead with no visible end. Its edges shimmered in colors I can't describe, hues that don't exist on Earth. They moved and pulsed like living silk, soft blues that whispered peace, golden strands of memory, deep violets that hummed with quiet power. I was floating forward, but there was no wind. Just a gentle pull, like a magnetic thread calling me home. And then a sound. Not music, not exactly, but something musical. A frequency of love. It vibrated in me, not around me. Each note seemed to know who I was, seemed to remember me in a way even I couldn't. It wasn't a song, it was my soul's name being sung back to me. I had no weight, no pain, no limits. I wasn't human anymore. I was awareness, memory, light. I glanced downward and saw my body again, still at the bottom of the lake. Still, lifeless, still, cold. But I felt no sadness. Not because I was numb, but because I was full of peace, full of understanding, full of the unshakable knowing that where I was, this was home. And for the first time I realized something with absolute clarity. Nothing on earth is ever truly lost. Not love, not time, not even death. Everything returns. Everything is remembered. Pause just for a moment. Have you ever had a spiritual moment that changed your life? Share it in the comments below. As I moved deeper into the tunnel, scenes began to appear around me. Not outside, but inside the very air itself. They were soft, glowing windows, each one showing moments from my life, not as static images, but as full replays, living memories. I saw my mother's hands tying my shoes on the first day of school. I saw myself laughing with friends in a field at dusk. I saw tears I had caused and ones I had wiped away. But the most astonishing part wasn't watching them, it was feeling them. Not just my own emotions, but the emotions of the people I had touched, their thoughts, their hopes, their silent fears. It was like reading every hidden page of a book I thought I had written alone, and suddenly I understood. Every choice we make is a thread, and every thread touches another. Nothing is insignificant. And just when I thought I had seen it all, the tunnel began to dissolve. In its place I stood, if standing is the right word, before a radiant expanse. It was like arriving at the threshold of a great cathedral made entirely of living light. Shapes began to emerge within the brightness, human but not. Figures composed of shimmering energy, each one glowing with a color and pattern of their own. And then I saw it, a single light brighter than the rest, not harsh or blinding, but infinite. It took the shape of a silhouette. No face, no features, just presence. And it spoke, not in words, but straight into the center of who I was. Andy, we love you. Not I. We. And with those words, the light behind the figure exploded, not outward but inward, revealing billions of other lights. All of them, like me. All of them, welcoming me. All of them, home. This wasn't just a place, it was a reunion, a return, a remembering, and I felt joy, real, unfiltered, eternal joy. But just as I was about to be fully embraced, something stirred, a message, a movement, something was about to change. And what came next, I never wanted, but it was coming. I was standing, though there was no ground beneath me, surrounded by light, that wasn't just seen, but felt. The figure before me pulsed gently, not with power, but with presence. Its form was human-like, but without detail. A silhouette made of warmth, wisdom, and absolute peace. I didn't speak. I didn't need to. It already knew everything about me. Not in the way a stranger might study you, but like an old friend who's always known you and never stopped loving you. And then, without sound, I heard the message again. Andy, we love you. The we wasn't metaphor, because in that moment, the background behind the radiant figure shifted, and I saw billions. Billions of lights, each glowing with its own color, rhythm, and memory. Each one, someone. And I knew, without needing to be told, that these were souls, consciousnesses, family, not family by blood, but by being, by spirit. They were me, I was them. They weren't strangers, they were parts of something greater. Of me, of you. They all welcomed me in unison, not with words, but with waves of pure joy. "Welcome back, Andy." And when they said that, something inside me melted. It was like remembering your own name after forgetting it for a lifetime. This was where I belonged. This was home. I felt no fear, no sorrow, no guilt, only truth. And the truth was this: I had never truly been alone, not for a moment, not even in the cold, muddy bottom of that lake. I looked at the figure again, now pulsing gently, and it drew me closer, not by force, but by invitation. And then I merged. I didn't lose myself. I became more of myself than I had ever been. Imagine this. You take a spoonful of sugar and stir it into a warm bowl of water. At first, you can still see it, but then it disappears. Not because it's gone, but because it has become one with the whole. That was me. No edges, no identity in the way Earth understands it. And yet, more alive than ever, I was part of the light. I was the light. There was no judgment, no trial, no questions, only love. And not the kind of love that comes and goes, that rises and falls with conditions or expectations, but a love that simply is, unshakable, eternal, everywhere. It was freedom. And I remember thinking, if this is what awaits us, why would we ever fear death? Why would we fear anything? Here, in this place, I could be anything. I could become anything. There was a freedom so complete it frightened me, but only for a breath, because the light whispered, "Be who you truly are, all is well." And I believed it. I danced without moving. I remembered without thinking. I was whole. Time didn't exist. There were no clocks, no waiting. Everything happened in what I now call a moment of no time. And then a change, a ripple in the stillness. I felt it before I heard it, a knowing, and then the voice. "Andy, you must go back." No, the word wasn't spoken. It was my entire being screaming silently. No, please, no, not after this, not after coming home. But the light was gentle, unmoving. Again, "Andy, you must return." And I pushed back as much as a soul can. "You don't understand. I've done the earth part. I've lived. I'm ready to stay. I don't want to forget this again. I can't." Silence, and then a third time. Soft, firm, certain. "Andy, you will go back." And the moment I heard the end of that sentence, it was as if the universe exhaled. I was pulled fast, heavy, brutal, through layers of energy, through veils of feeling, through the tunnel that had once comforted me. But now it was closing, and in a flash, I was back. Back in the body I had abandoned, cold, wet, heavy. The sand was beneath me. My chest was heaving, people were shouting, my lungs burned. I had returned, and I wept. Not for fear, not for pain, but because I had been in the light. And now I was here again, on earth. And all I could think was, how do I go on, knowing what I left behind? But I wasn't the same. Something had changed, and though I couldn't speak it yet, I would carry that light for the rest of my life. I was alive, but not whole. The moment I opened my eyes on that shore, coughing up water with trembling limbs, I knew I had returned to a world that no longer felt like mine. The sounds of people shouting, the chaos, the urgency. It was all distant, like a play unfolding behind a glass wall. My friends pulled me up, their faces pale, their relief pouring out in nervous laughter and tears. But I couldn't laugh, I couldn't speak, because something inside me had shattered. and something far greater had taken its place. I remember someone asking, "Andy, what happened down there?" And I lied. I said I didn't remember, that it all went black, that it was nothing. But it wasn't nothing. It was everything. For the next few days, I walked through life like a stranger in my own skin. My body moved, my mouth spoke, but behind my eyes, I was still there, in the light, and the pain of separation was unbearable. How could I explain it? How do you describe a color that doesn't exist, a love without condition? So I didn't, not for days, not for weeks, not for 30 years. I went on with my life, graduated, worked, married, laughed, lost, rebuilt, but nothing was ever quite the same. The world seemed like a stage. The people around me, beautiful, real, full of emotion, felt like actors in costumes, playing parts they didn't know they were given, and I was one of them. I saw people hurting and thought, if only they knew what I know. I saw people fearing death and thought, if only they could remember. But I kept it to myself. Until one day, decades later, I came across a book about near-death experiences, and in it I saw my story, my feelings, written by someone else. It was then I realized I wasn't alone, I wasn't crazy, and I didn't have to stay silent. So I began to speak, to share, not to preach, not to convince, but to remind. To remind people, that we are more than skin and name and circumstance, that this life, while sacred and beautiful, is not the final act, that the soul is real, that love is everything, that the light is waiting. And though I still walk this earth, eat meals, pay bills, sit quietly with my thoughts, I am not the same, because I remember. And I carry that memory not as a burden, but as a gift. You see, I no longer fear death. I no longer fear the end, because there is no end. There is only a return to the place where everything begins again, to the place where you are not judged, but embraced, not questioned, but remembered, not alone, but home. One day, we'll all go there. We'll all pass through that tunnel. We'll all hear the music, and when we do, when you do, you'll understand. Until then, live kindly, forgive often, love fully, and never forget. You are known. You are held. You are loved beyond measure. You always have been. You always will be. Back in the light, like this video, and comment your name and city below with Amen to be blessed in our next message.